没有，我说老实话，只是久仰大名啊，但是我并跟他们并不熟。但是我记得很久很久以前，好像 GBC 开始有了 building 以后就设了 board，然后第一届的 board of director 里面的 chairman 是 Larry 和，对不对？
对不起，我听不清楚。那你讲我是 chairman 什么？
哦，我是说你那时候是 chairman of the board for GBCCA 的 board。
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I remember 那个你请大家那个 board member 到你家去吃饭，那时候反正我跟我先生很早就到了。我记得我先生跟你聊天，他也不是不认识你，就聊了一下，他就跟我说：“哦，Larry 是出我们教科书的，我先生是 engineering，他说是出我们教科书的人。”所以我这一听，哇，大吃一惊，真的是好棒。
那索菲亚是第一届龙舟，就他的农船什么都是他做的，idea 也是他的，所以从那时候开始，我们跟他们就很熟很熟，因为我们一起做了很多 project，那个呃，所以也更了解那个索菲亚对那啊。到了 Hill School 以后更是，Hill School 是1982年我们租下来以后，整个 concept 的什么，索菲亚是第一任的 Center Director，出了很多点子，把这个整个 GBCC 从4个人的干事到差不多有30几个干事分组在做事情，所以说。但这都是小事情，对他整个我以后才发现，原来这只是他很小的一部分，最大的部分是在他 community 的各式各样东西。那方面我也不是完全了解，我知道他做太多事情了，他等一下会给我们介绍。真的是我们是很幸运能够见到认识，而且是跟这2位前辈有很大的深交，跟他们学了很多东西。是谢谢他们。好，那个还有没有其他补充的？那我们就请了Larry 索菲亚，你们开始。
谢谢。
Yes, okay. First of all, let me say we're going to give the talk in English. Even though I know the current audience mostly speak and prefer Chinese, but we are recording this for the benefit of the younger generation and even the grandchildren generation. Many of them are like ours, are of mixed parentage. They certainly, the ability to understand Chinese is limited. So for their benefit and for our convenience, we're going to speak in English. But feel free to interrupt us or to add in your comment in Chinese, no problem, because when we reply, we'll also try to reproduce your question or comment in Chinese as appropriate before we answer them. So this way, our younger generation can completely follow the talk. So I just want to mention this at the beginning. So from here on, also, we are limited in our view of the audience. We can only see 4 pictures at one time. So sometimes when you speak, we don't know who you are. If you could announce it or just excuse us for not being able to know who we are speaking to. So that's okay. With that, let's begin our talk. So first of all, we want to thank people for organizing this talk. First of all, Yu Mei, Xinxie invited us to give the talk. We're very honored because, sure, as academic, we give lectures, technical things all the time, but really, you are invited to give a talk about your life, which this is really a big honor for both of us. We want to thank her sincerely. Second, Zhou Yidan for because we are doing this on a very short notice, so we hurriedly produced slides and text and so forth. And we want to thank Zoe Nan for proofreading the text and slides. He is very, very good. But because of the shortage of time, for which we are partially responsible, we're even correcting things last minute, like last night, early this morning. So whatever remaining errors in our text and slides are our responsibility. He should not be be blamed. He has done a great job in helping us. And then finally, of course, Tang Yawen, Long Li, for the decades of friendship as well as leadership in leading GBCCA. They have invited us to give talk before, and really their effort has added a great deal to the Chinese community. So we thank them very much. Now, the rough plan for the talk, just so that you can follow, Sophie will lead in giving chronologically from earliest 1950s to date, our life experience, one at a time. Then I will cut in whenever appropriate to add on my view on whatever she's talking about. And if you have important questions on whatever we're talking about, by all means interrupt us, and particularly if the question is very appropriate, important for what we're talking about, that rather than wait for the question and answer period. We're happy to. This is a very informal talk. We will end the talk with about lessons we have learned for living in the United States for something like 74 years. And also afterwards, anytime you can ask us additional questions, but just send us an email. We're happy to respond to you. And let me move this a little bit. And also, many of you know I write a blog for the last 18 years, since 2007 when I retired. And mostly I write about our life experience, so you can get additional information in addition to the talk today. So that's how we plan to do. Now, first, let me start off about the pre-civil rights days of 1950. Both Sophia and I came to the US alone during our teenage years in 1950 and 55. We came here alone with no friends, no assets, except the promise of a college education and the possibility of living the American dream. In fact, we did do that, and now, after that initial start with absolutely nothing, we are now living in a retirement, continuous care retirement community, commonly called CCRC. And from two of us, now we have a family of 15 with 4 national ethnicity and 4 living generations together, like a Chinese blessing called 四代同堂. Now here's some recent photos taken most recently. The first one consists of our family of 4 national ethnicity: Chinese, Korean, Scottish, and Iranian. Age ranging from myself, almost 92, down to 3-year-old, the great-grandchild. And even though I know politically the current administration is not very popular to talk about DEI, but we are, in fact, a very diversified family. We're an equal opportunity and inclusive family of 15 from 1950s to now. And here's our recent picture taken in December 2023, 2 years ago. A family of 15, if you count carefully, they are in fact.
In Arizona.
In Arizona, on a family reunion, yes. And here's another picture. As far as I know, this is the first Harvard University gave me a 90th birthday last year, and some special T-shirt made for the occasion. And there's actually 14 of us in this picture because one grandchild is studying in Taiwan right now, so he was missing. But he was there in the first picture.
Let me interrupt. You see the
Sure.
picture, the design is Sophia's design with a hole on the school.
Oh, yeah.
The
Oh,
hole,
no.
not the
No,
special
no.
design
Oh,
of
你讲了，你explain.
Yeah, he had a question.
Yeah.
Did I design it?
Yeah, 我们那么一个 architect 的朋友 Paul Sun, he's no longer with us, designed this thing for us. And 我们这个 T-shirt 就是我们去年这个 Harvard celebrated my 90th birthday， 所以每个人都穿了这个衣服拍了一个照片。
Actually, if you look at it, it's H. The red part is H. The yellow part is O. It's our last name.
And the letter which you can read below is just sort of the reunion of academic family in 2024 in honor of my 90th birthday.
Now it's my turn to talk. As Larry said that we came in the 50s. He came here first. He got his degree from MIT, bachelor's and master's. Then he went out to work in the Midwest in Detroit and worked for the company called Bendix. I came in 55 after 4 years in a small Catholic girls' college in Putnam, Connecticut. Majored in biology. Because I liked the languages a lot, and I picked up French in college. I don't speak French, but I like languages. And
You do speak Italian.
And 4 years later, I met Larry during my junior year, and we decided to get married after my graduation, which is 1959, while he was still at Harvard. And his mother very wisely suggests that we get married after he passes his qualifying. And I thought that was a great idea. And so in October, we got married in New York. And as Larry said, we had no money. We did not send out invitation because we just had a small reception of close friends and relatives, a couple of my college friends. This is taken at a hall in Columbia University. And I bought a small cake. We did not have wine or any champagne. We had punch. So it was a very simple wedding. After we got married, we lived in Boston because I found a job, fortunately, at Harvard Medical School in the lab. I worked there as a lab technician while Larry drove from Boston to Cambridge to do his work at Harvard. And after in 1970, we joined, forgot. And we moved to Lexington in 1966 after he was appointed assistant professor at Harvard.
No, after I received tenure, so that we know we will have a life.
That's right. I made a mistake. Sorry. After he got tenure, and we know that we'll be here forever or for a while, so we decided to buy a house. And Lexington was our choice, of course, as everybody else who moved here, is because Lexington has good schools, and that was important. And after we settled in Lexington, kids went to school, and I joined GBCCA. So we're very old members of GBCCA. I became the director, as Yao just mentioned, that GBCCA was fortunately to rent a room, 2 rooms in a school in Weston, town of Weston, and we cleaned it, decorated the place, and we had an activity center. And I was the director. I think Tia Yaowu was the director first. I'm not sure, but we worked very well together. I am one of the persons who can work with Yaowu. Larry says, Tang Yaowu does things. I feel good about it, which is true. Lao is very thorough and patient, and we worked well together ever since then. Sometimes we still work together. In 1983, some parents of Chinese schools, Chinese language schools in Lexington, decided to organize the Chinese Americans and called Chinese American Association of Lexington. Some parents moved away. Some of the old moved away, but some still in town. And it was, in the beginning, was very loosely organized. We had New Year dinner together, and not too many members. And so after we settled there, I met a very nice neighbor who's active in town. She told me all about town organizations. She says, Lexington is not a city. That's why we don't have a mayor. Lexington is a town. For the town, we have a selectman board. 5 people serve on the board, and they manage they make decisions for Lexington. Through my friend's introduction, I met a very nice gentleman called Jack Edison. He is older than I and became my mentor, my big brother, my teacher. He taught me everything. He was already serving on the board. One day he said, Sophia, I'm running for re-election. Oh, I said, that's good. He said, I want you to be my campaign manager. I was shocked. I said, I don't know anything about campaigning. He said, we'll work together. He organized things. He made the plan. But I carry out all the things necessary. Lexington has 9 precincts. Each precinct has a leader. What we do, we tell the leaders to farm out the work. And the first thing, of course, every campaign must have a treasurer because we need money. Campaign costs money. We make signs, we have ads in newspapers, we have receptions and all that. So we have Alice as our treasurer, and I worked very hard, even though I was new at it, but with Jack's help, and we were very successful. We ran a campaign, he got re-elected. And that's when I thought that how lucky I am to have met such a teacher. And I got interested because I get to meet a lot of people that way. And also because I do not have a 9-to-5 job. I am full-time housewife, mother, so I have time to do other things. I volunteer. I started volunteering first in schools and then in the town and different committees. Next.
Okay. Oh, I may just add one bit of a political science knowledge. At that time in the 60s, the conventional wisdom is it costs about $1 per vote in an election. But now, today, like the upcoming election and so forth, nationally, it costs about $10 per vote. That gives you some idea of the inflation as well as the cost of running campaign. Many of our new friends from China always get amazed at how much it costs and that so many people serve in town, in Lexington, of free will, no pay. It's all volunteer work.
Next. Because I ran a successful campaign for Jack Edison. And when 1987, our then governor, Michael Dukakis, started running for president. And they picked me to be the town coordinator. The town coordinator organized the whole town. What we did, first thing we did was to canvassing. What is canvassing? They gave me list of Lexington residents with the phone numbers. We're supposed to call each one of them, ask them, how likely are you going to vote for Dukakis? And sometimes people say, definitely, that was a check. Sometimes people say, I don't know. And you have question mark. And then, of course, there's I certainly don't want to vote for him. Then you put a cross. And doing that is tedious, but it's important. And sometimes I call somebody and
They yell at you.
they yell at you. They say, it's for you to find out, isn't it? Then hang up on me. But I don't take it personally. When you work for we you can't take things too seriously. So we did that and raised money, car top. We ordered car top signs for people to drive around the car around. But all in all, we worked hard, and Mike did not get in. See, this is at friend's house. You can see, some of you recognize the one on the left is Zhang Qinzhi, me, Dukakis, Stella Liu, Tang Taitai, and this is Howard Lee's wife. And this is, we had a meeting there. In 1983,
对不起啊，我都没有看见什么
哦
图片。
yeah. Oh, I forgot.
你没看见什么？
I want to.
我什么都没有看，只看到一群人。然后我有看到人在吃饭，有看到人在抠鼻子。
我还是不懂，你是不是来的晚了？
哦，是吗？来晚了就看不到了吗？
你来晚没关系，因为这是在录音录像，你
好
可以再重新看。
好，谢谢。
I continue.
Yeah.
My good friends know that I like to sing. I would have loved to study music, but I didn't because my parents, like many other parents, think music is not a career, not a good career. Hobby, yes, but to study music, you're going to starve to death. So I always liked to sing, and one day, Linda Wang, some of you know her, she moved to California and came back from Chinese camp, said, why don't we start a chorus? I said, we need a pianist. She said, oh, there's a girl called Shirley. She she studied piano. She would be a good person. I said, but then we need a conductor. Who can be the conductor? She said, you. I said, me? That's a shock to me because I like music, but I don't know much about it. But she says, if you don't do it, then we won't have a chorus. So she convinced me to gather some ladies who are at home ladies, and we start practicing Tuesday. Once a month at our house. Shirley played the piano. I had music, Xerox, and all that. There was not too many, but the point is, we gathered to sing, to practice. Then everybody had lunch together. So it was a friendly group, and we had fun. After a while, Linda said, can we rehearse in the evenings? I said, why? She said, because my husband and some of his friends would like to join us, and they work during the day. So that's when we switched from Tuesday to Friday evenings, once a month, at one of the members' house. We took turns to rotate. And again, people brought goodies, food. We really had fun. 30 years later, I was talking to one of the members who moved away. She said, those for a few years were the happiest years we were together, good friends, singing together. Then they moved away. So it was very good few years. We all enjoy it. Whether we're good chorus or not, I can't guarantee. Next, yeah. Tang Yaowu, I think, was our manager. Very capable manager. He get us to sing at the Kennedy Library. And so fine, we all went there and had good time, except as you know, those glass panes, high into the sky. It is not a concert hall. I remember after we finished a piece, and the sound just keeps on coming back from the sky, coming down, but it was fun. Being in Lexington for so many years, then the school superintendent decided to form a board meeting committee. We call it Lexington Education Foundation. They asked me to serve. The job of our committee is to raise money. School budget was tight, and we would raise money to subsidize if a teacher has a special good idea. He wants to do experiment or take a trip with the students, but don't have funding from the town. They would apply to us. So they would write an application, and the board would decide who should get our money. How did we have money? We had fundraisers, and each committee member worked hard to try to raise money. 2002, as you know, I like to sing, and there's a local chorale called Masterworks Chorale. I became the president. After I joined it in 1980, we performed at Harvard Sanders Theater 3 times a year. And we rehearsed in a temple or in a school, in a church, and then we sang classic music. Once I invited my friends to come to the concert, and he questioned me. He said, "You rehearsed for 3 months, learn the piece, and why don't you perform more than once? We only perform one Saturday night, and that's it." He said, "Why didn't you sing, repeat the work?" I said, "You don't know the story of a chorale. We sing once, we lose $500. If we see 2 concerts, we lose $1,000. We don't make money. We have to sell tickets, and we have to pay rent to the rehearsal place. We pay rent to Harvard Sanders Theater for the rental. A chorus, unless you have a super rich member, it's not a money-making thing, but we had fun. Because I like music, I started to take piano lessons, and my teacher, Ramon Angel Aram Rivera, ARR, there's a scholarship under his name, and we have competitions at the Western School, no, Rivers School in Western. The people who are music students, high school level, so those are 4 years, and they come to compete, and we give out the first, second, third prize. And I serve on the board. We organize the competition and celebration, and I enjoy doing that very much. In 2010, somebody asked me to join Council on Aging. What do we do? Lexington is known for its good schools. a lot of our tax money goes to schools. But for
half our money,
half
half of
the
town budget.
tax money goes to. So Council on Aging, we discussed problems of the older people, what we can do for them, and we served lunches for people. And one day, my friend Stella Shen, many of them, you know her. She told me, she said, Sophia, in Waltham, senior citizens don't have to pay for parking. So I brought that up to our meeting. I said, I think that's such a good thing to do for our seniors. It's not just the 25 cents. It's sometimes you don't have a quarter. And also in the wintertime, when the parking meters are buried deep in the snow, I can't climb up to put the quarter in there. So I think to let the seniors park for free is a great idea. After I brought that up, my term was off. So I wanted to keep another Chinese Americans on this board. I asked my friend Zhang Zhao, would he serve? He said yes. And I told him to push for this because it was not decided when I left. Eventually, yes. So now if you're a citizen of Lexington and over 65, you can go get a sticker, put on your windshield, and you can park anytime, any day, free.
In Lexington only, not in Waltham or Cambridge.
No, but Waltham, I understand other towns, maybe Medford has it too. So Waltham and Lexington are not the only two. There are other towns who do it for the seniors. Next, please. Up until now, 2012, we had a few Chinese Americans serving in the town meeting. They ran. Zhao Changzhi was one, got elected, and there are some others elected, but they only represent their precinct. But we don't have a town-wide
Officer.
member. So when I heard that the housing authority, the lady is retiring, I said, wouldn't it be nice if we have Chinese Americans? So I sent letters through CAL, Chinese American Association of Lexington, and I said, I need a candidate. And Wei Dongwang was the one who volunteered. I was so happy there's somebody who's willing to do this. I said, I'll be your campaign manager. To be honest, at that time, nobody else can manage a campaign. And I had the experience, and to serve on that committee is 6 years a term. So to commit yourself for 6 years is something wonderful. I'm very, very grateful to Wei Dong. We worked hard.
And he had an opponent, a very well-known town resident as opponent in the election.
So Wei Dong didn't know how to run a campaign. So first you do is you take him to visit who's of Lexington, the important people, the selectmen, school committee members. We went and to visit each one, asking for their advice, just to touch base. And then we worked very hard. This campaign is different from the old campaign I ran for Jack Edison, because now we're allowed to have long signs. We make signs, and with technology, you can spot where you put the signs and all that. So, of course, we had Wen Jie was the treasurer, and we had to raise money. People donate generously, and on election day, Larry had a screen set up, and everybody gathered in our downstairs, and we listened. We also had a person at each precinct. When the result comes out, we have 9 precincts in Lexington. I assigned one to each precinct. When the result comes, they he or she phoned us in, said, we won, or what is voters? I don't know the numbers. We won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We won all 9 precincts. And you cannot imagine how happy we were. Weidong was happy, I was happy, everybody was happy, because he is the first Chinese American member to win a seat on the townwide
Yeah,
board.
against a well-known Lexington resident.
Yeah, you work hard, that's all. In 1913, many things happens. The town appointed a community center task force. They asked me to serve. Our job is not to build or design a community center. Our job is to find out whether Lexington should need a community center.
And can't afford it because they are multi-billion-dollar buildings.
So what our job was, I was assigned to go to Arlington, Burlington, Winchester to look at their community centers to see how it works and whether it's beneficial to the residents or not. One hot summer day, I went to Burlington and I walked, it was an old school building they used as a community center. I walked in, I saw a group of senior citizens sitting in an air-conditioned room, having a cup of tea, chatting, watching TV. I thought, on a hot day like today, wouldn't you like to have a cool place for you to go and meet friends? So anyway, after different people reported back, our chairman made a presentation to the select board, said, yes, Lexington should have a town community center. And it is, right now, we do have one because we're fortunate. Our community center has a large room. We serve lunch to people who want inexpensive lunch. We have a ping pong room. People can play ping pong. We also have a fixed shop. A group of senior citizens, retired, loves to fix up things. So if your toaster oven is not working, you can bring it there free of charge. They fix for you. They only charge for the parts, replacement parts. And for Lexington residents, we don't pay, but I usually give a donation because after all, they work so hard. And so there are other things.
Exercise center.
Exercise room,
That's
that's right.
with all the latest equipment.
So we do have a community center. And same year, Lexington, as you all know, is a historical town. The first shot of the American Revolution was heard here, and Lexington was not called Lexington. It was called, I think, West Cambridge. So the town of Lexington formally established 300 years ago. So we had a celebration. They asked me to serve. Then this is the next one is the most important thing. I joined it and I'm still serving it. One day, a young man came, said, we're thinking of organizing a Martin Luther King Day of Service. We'd like you to serve on the committee. I said, be glad to. MLK Day of Service is not just in Lexington, it's nationwide. It could be in California, in Texas, any town you can form one. What you do is up to you to decide. You can collect books, do something for other people. Next. You see, that's our t-shirt. On the back of my t-shirt is a quote from Dr. King saying, he said, life's the most relevant and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Question mark. I think of that all the time. what are we doing for others? So I was very happy to join. And as I say, each town can organize your activities according to what you want. I knit mittens and send them to different places that need them, shelters. And then I made felt hats, stretchy, for little children. And there's a neck warmer attached to it. And the little kids can wear it because it's stretchy. So that's what I did. And I also ran activity. In Lexington, we have 3 villages. Those are the affordable villages. You apply, if you qualify, you can move in and you pay little rent. And there lived quite a few Chinese American seniors. Those seniors came to take care of their grandchildren. After the grandkids graduated, and they applied to live there, which is very good because they have other neighbors who speak Chinese. In the beginning, I taught English there. We ran classes every Tuesday or every Thursday morning. And then I thought, for my project for MLK Day of Service, I want to serve free lunch to the seniors. Three places separated. And there are 3 of us, each in charge of 1 village. And there I asked the Chinese restaurants to donate egg rolls, dumplings, baozi, all kinds of things. They were very, very generous. They all donate to us. We served to the seniors, have a conversation. We invited people, senators, congressmen, local, and Larry to come to talk to them about MLK, because many of them, they came to take care of the grandchildren and then live there. They probably do not know what MLK did, what sacrifice Dr. King made. We should never forget Dr. King, and we should honor him with all the good things we can. And as you know, the Chinese say, 助人为快乐之本. Helping others is the foundation for happiness. I truly believe that the more you give, the more happier you are. I've always said that I want to share my fortune with others. Fortune is not just money. There are other things. We are so much more fortunate than some other people. So I believe that we should share our fortunes. Next. Now, come 2017, I turned 80. My friend Wen Jie here in Lexington called me, said, Sophia, I want to nominate you for the Minuteman cane, which is given to a person, male or female, over 80, lived in Lexington for 15 years, and have contributed greatly to our community and inspired others to do so. I said, oh no, Wenjie, typical Chinese. No, I'm not good enough. So after 2 days, I thought, I'm not doing this just for myself. I'm doing for all the Chinese Americans. I want to show others that Chinese Americans are contributing members of our society, be it in Lexington, Western, Wayland. I want people to look at me and say, this is an immigrant from China, and she is a great person. So I told Wenjie, okay, I will do it. So she and I went out and to ask people to write recommendation. We fill out the form, application form, and I had a stack of 25 papers, people recommending why I should be the recipient. Next, please. And next. This, as you can see, is once I was chosen, you get to ride in a convertible on Patriots Day. On Patriots Day in Lexington, some of you must know, we have a parade. You start at Wilson Farm and you walk, in my case, ride all the way to the center. This is the picture of Lexington Center. And so I was going to suppose I should sit on the back of the car, but I was afraid, what if I fall off and kill myself? It's not worth it. So I sat down. And the other flag we just saw is Lexington, a group of women said, we want to honor Lexington women. And they chose me and said, if you send us a silhouette, a picture, the Girl Scouts, different troops will make the design, put a silhouette of it and design a banner. And this was hung on
Main Street.
pole in Lexington Center, just to honor the women of Lexington. Okay, next. Now, we come to the end. We've already moved to Brookhaven, a CCRC residence. We are old. We may be retired, but we are still active. And I served, no, Lexington Historic Society asked me, they said, after Patriots Day, we're going to have a swearing-in ceremony on the Battle Green. That is the first time ever done here in Lexington. 54 people from 23 countries came. They sat there, they swore in, and they became brand new American citizens. And the director of Historic Society asked me to say a few words because I came here as an immigrant also. And he said, anything you say is fine. 3 minutes. 3 minutes to tell them what I did or what. But anyway, I talk very fast. I said, first thing you do is you learn English. You should speak English, the language of your country, and you'll be much happier living in your community. Also, you must register to vote. To vote is your privilege and your duty. If you don't vote, nobody can hear you. Don't complain if you don't vote and people don't do what you think is right. So Lexington was very good. They had tables set right next to us. For those new citizens from Lexington, you can just walk over and register as a voter.
Yeah. Just to add, in the 2020 census, they found Lexington Chinese American registered to vote are 6 times more than other cities in Massachusetts suburbs. So that's certainly the effort paid off.
Planning committee.
Immigration.
Sure, yes. This is the last thing I did. After we moved here, with our new president, with the immigrants being pushed out, the 5 of us decided we should do something. We may be retired, but we're not doing nothing. So we formed a committee and we call ourselves Immigration. Let it continue here. We applied to the Patriots Day Parade Committee. they allowed us to march on Patriots Day, happens to be April 19th. I was determined to march, and my committee members said, you should march because you are the newest immigrants, and you also received the cane, the honor that Lexington can give you, and we want to show people immigrants are good for our country. But when I looked about the map, the march is over 2 miles long, and I said, I don't think I can walk. I'm almost 90. I don't think I can walk that long. So we worked together, and the next picture. Oh, that's when I talked to on the Battle Creek. We rented a scooter. I can't walk over 2 miles. So we rented one from Belmont, and I practiced. I received it 3 days earlier. I practiced for 2 days, forward, backward, stop, and go. And I managed. This is me sitting there waiting for the parade to start. On back of me is the cane, the Minuteman cane I received in 2017. Fortunately, my good daughter, Lara, from DC, I told her about it. She said, I want to march. And she came up. She helped me a lot. Each week, contact different groups. I called committees in Korean, Japanese, Cambodian, Arab something. So everybody went out, all the committee members went out to find people. We have people from, we have people from Ukraine, Lithuania, England, Ireland, Germany, Italy, Japan, and many countries represent. Each one would get a little plaque. Oh, the other one, please. With the country, with the flag on it, with the country flag on it, and the name of the country. My friends said, I said, where did your ancestor came from? She said, on the Mayflowers. Oh, I said, you don't look that old. Of course, she is many, many generations later. But it doesn't matter. We're all immigrants. Immigrants are good for our country. So this is the last thing I did so far. I'm retiring. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay. Well, now let me talk a little bit about my experience. I studied at MIT from 1950 to 1955, got my master's and bachelor's. Then, in need of money, I went out to work for 3 years. Then, but I always wanted to get a PhD. So 1958, I applied to return to MIT's PhD program. Now, you have to remember, this is 1950. A lot of things are very normal in 1960, but today would be found to be unacceptable. So in 1950, there was a quota on the number of Chinese students, student of Chinese ethnicity can be in the EE department. I didn't know that, but when I applied, I was outside the quota, so they never sent me application form, despite repeated requests. And I made a mistake asking the department to send me an application form because I have very good grades here. And the reason they didn't send me application forms, because if my application form are filled out and sent to the institute-wide committee, people will raise questions. This MIT, your own graduate had very good record. Why are you denying him admission? So they just, despite repeated requests, the department never sent me application form, and I only later on found out that this is a quota. I mean, nothing personal against me, but and this case turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I went to Harvard instead, because Harvard at that time had no competence in control theory. MIT's control theory was of World War II vintage. They developed to the ultimate, but they are reaching the end. I remember I had a roommate at MIT who also interested in control theory. He stayed on because he's American and got his PhD at MIT. Never heard from him again because they were doing so-called last generation old control theory, which MIT did very, very well during World War II and so forth. Many control texts are famous, but now they don't even in existence. But that's only, no, I read it later. Because Harvard had no competence in control theory, I was allowed to do anything. And the general acknowledged the father of the new revolution control theory in our profession is somebody named Kalman. In fact, I recently gave a talk about Kalman's legendary revolution, but here at Brookhaven. But that's a separate story for later on. And I can refer you to papers, stories about Kalman. And I was able to write a fundamental paper together with Kalman because Harvard had nobody to guide me. I just wrote to him, established communication, and wrote the first joint paper, fundamental paper with Kalman. And also the Kalman's greatest invention later on called the Kalman filter, which I named it. And in fact, it is his greatest contribution. In fact, I had 2 papers explaining how beautiful his greatest contribution Kalman filter is. So most people nowadays can name the original paper where Kalman made his invention. He deserves all the credit. But my 2 papers, which explain them in the simplest terms, in the correct mathematical terms, is still being referenced almost every day. Today, I get notified such and such paper has been on Kalman filter. My explanation has been referenced. And also, in engineering, there's Nobel Prize. There's no Nobel Prize, but there's something equivalent called Draper Prize, also $1 million in total amount. And Kalman received this Draper Prize instead because of the engineering. And in his acceptance speech, he acknowledged 2 people. One was his teacher and mentor, the mathematician by the name of Solomon Lefschetz. Second is me, because he recognized I was the first one who appreciated his contribution, which he deserves all the credit, but it was so written with intuition, lucky guess, and so forth, very difficult to understand. And so most people don't even remember where it was published in an obscure journal. But my paper to explaining it is still being referenced these days. So,
Lesson learned. And first of all, I'd like to say I was fortunate that when we got married, our jobs were divided clearly. Larry is to go out, pursue his career, and make money. And my job is stay home, be a full-time mom, and volunteer. So I really liked my life. And when we moved here, we met new friends. People ask, Larry, what did you do? He says, I taught. And then he turned to me and said, what did you do? I said, I'm a professional volunteer. So he looked at me, he said, so you never worked? I almost yelled at him, but I didn't. Volunteer is not just you sleep and get rested. You work very hard, but you're happy doing what you are doing. Otherwise, you don't volunteer. And I was not paid in dollars, but the gratitude and the appreciation, and most of all, love and friendship, that is worth $1 million. I was paid very well from what I did. And well, I started working as volunteer school in the kids' school, and then my friend and also my my big brother Jack taught me all about grassroots politics. I just learned naturally, and I joined the Democratic Town Committee. Yeah, I mentioned I was a manager for Jack. And because it was successful, one day after the election, I got a phone call and he said, Sophia, this is so and so. I said, oh. And he said, I'm running for school committee. I said, oh. He said, I want you to be my campaign manager. I said, I don't even know you. How can I campaign for you? That just demonstrates that once you did something okay, and then people come looking for you. That's why I had served on committees one after the other for all these years in Lexington.
Well, I also learned some life lessons in some 70 years here. First, it is true, there is the American dream, and I basically, and with my wife together, we lived it. That is really a blessing. Second, unless you are among the 1,000 billionaires in the United States or the top 1% of income in the United States, most people don't, it's best you learn about your own financial insurance need, because most financial advisors charge 1% or less. If you're a billionaire, they manage 1% of $1 billion is $10 million. They can serve you exclusively or even give you a discount. But if you're not in those billionaires, they basically, financial advisors give you cookie cutter plans, and they really can afford to individualize or spend time on your finance. And it's best to manage your own finance and insurance and other needs. It's really not that complicated. And you can do better than financial advisor can do for you, because no one knows your family better with respect to risk, tolerance, and all kinds of things. And managing your own finance, so long you're not aiming to become super, super rich, it's really not that hard. And I did it for ever since I started making money, earning a living, and have done very well. You know, Harvard puts a certain amount of retirement money every year for you, which you cannot touch until you retire. And but you are allowed to say where the money goes. And there I learned my financial management and did very well. Over the years, about 46 years I worked for Harvard, their money they put into my retirement or as part of my pay, but which I cannot touch, through my management went up 10 times. That is quite an accomplishment that most, unless you're dedicated and so forth, most financial advisors couldn't even achieve. Second, also very important, if you want to enjoy life, particularly in your overaging retirement, you have to have the health to do it. Then that's very important. Of course, your health and longevity is something you cannot totally control. What genes you inherit is very important. And so far, both Sophia and I have seemed to be lucky And as Sophia mentioned, volunteer for public service, it derives many benefits that you normally don't think of. And normally, most people do not get this kind of benefit unless you volunteer for public service. I've written articles about it, and if you're interested, you write to me, I'll give you the reference. And the other things for people, if you follow a public career, it's important to learn to give good talks, like what we are trying to do right now. In real estate, people say the three most important words is location, location, location. Nothing else matters, because even if you have a mansion, they're located in the wrong neighborhood or undesirable location, it's worth very little, and you cannot move a house easily. Same way, if you follow a career, you should learn to give good talks. And the three words mantra is called preparation, preparation, preparation. Most people are not natural born speakers. They cannot give off the top at the drop of a hat without preparation, give a flowing talk. Most people need to prepare, and you should prepare anytime you're asked to give a talk. That's P1. P2 is after you fully prepared your talk, you should give a full dress rehearsal to your partner, your family, and other interested people who are willing to give you good advice. That's preparation for a dress rehearsal, because there you can get lots of good advice how to make your talk understandable to average people. Lastly, preparation number 3 is something very people remember to do. If you're given the talk, during the talk, you often suddenly realize, oh, I'm doing this thing wrong. I should have added this to my talk. But of course, you're given the talk, you're too late to add this to your slides or so forth. But when you come back, you remember these improvements you make to talk. Even if you know very well you're never going to give the same talk again, you should go and change the slide as if you're going to give it again next week or something. That's preparation 3. Most people do not do. But if you do that, you become a very good speaker, even if you're not a natural born speaker. So finally, here's our 66 years together. Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking us. We're really honored to meet you here.
Yeah, exactly 1 hour.
I have one question. The 3P, I think I missed the last one. Preparation, and then
After you give the talk,
after
for what mistake
oh,
you have made, even if you know you're not going to give that talk again, but you go ahead, modify your slide, try to incorporate this into your talk as if you're going to give it tomorrow.
I see. Okay.
She's
Wonderful.
there. Look at her.
Okay.
Wonderful talk.
Look at her.
This is really wonderful. I have a question for Sophia. Over the years that I think you all live in the town of Lexington, and I believe that the population, the ethnic background, I think the percentage of the Asian people probably changed a lot. I think in 2020, I saw that about 33% is Asian American in that town of Lexington. So compare with when you started for the public work, what was the percentage? Do you see the change over the years in terms of
I
the
don't hear very
volunteers?
well.
Okay, I'll answer for you. When we moved into Lexington in 1966, we are I think the 15th Chinese American family in Lexington. You cannot even talk about percentage. Now, of course, I think it's something like 17%.
Yes, last year, Lexington High School girl did a talk on Chinese Americans in Lexington. I read her paper, and she quoted that at that time, Lexington has 17 point some thing of Chinese Americans.
That time was what?
And it was
20,
last year, 2 years ago. Now, this is percentage, not in pure number. In pure numbers, of course, Boston, Quincy, Malden, there are a lot of more Chinese Americans, but because Lexington population is 35,000, and if we have 5,000, approximately 5,000 Chinese people, would that make 17%? So it's higher, and more Chinese moved in since 12 years ago. 12 years ago, the statistic was Chinese 10.5%. Koreans and Indians, 5 point some% each. And another 5% is Filipino, Japanese, Cambodian, blah, 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 others. So still, the Chinese percentage has grown like you described. The Korean, no, not going up. Indians, yes. So it did changes, 10, 20 years.
So for the community work, the volunteers mix there, do you think that it's a good representation from these background?
well, what are the representation on volunteer work?
Oh, yes.
Uh,
Okay, let me describe CAL. CAAL was established 1983. It was mainly concerned about Chinese schools. And the first 20 years it was not very active. But around the year of 2000, a lot of more people came from mainland China, younger, and they just want to do more. So they sort of revived CAL, beginning to do things. For instance, the year 2000, Lexington Library, historical library, great, but it's old. They want to renovate, and of course you need money. So I was on the CAL committee, and also I was serving library foundation also. So I know that how do you raise money? You're naming opportunities. What is the naming opportunities? If you donate 50,000, you can name a circulation desk. They put a plaque on it. And
sometimes a room.
and then depends. If you donate 75,000, they would put a plaque that says so and so donate this room in honor of their parents. And Dr. Bernie Huang and Mrs. Huang donate, in fact, $75,000. And if you go to Carey Library, the room is in their name. And CAL, I was working on 2 boards. So I told CAL, let's raise some money to name something. I wasn't very ambitious. I say maybe 10,000. Then at that time, stock market was going up. So the some of the board members was making a lot of money. So they say, let's go big. Let's name the front entrance of Carey Library by CAL. Then I have to raise $25,000. And I said, okay. And I did. What I did, somebody says, okay, you can call 100 families asking each for so much, 100, 150, and you make the number. I said, I'm not going to call 100 Chinese families. So I called some of my good friends and who are very generous. I said, I need money. How much? A lot, I said. How much? I say, I want you to donate $1,000. Sure. So I found it was not a hard job because many of my friends were very generous. And one girl actually said, I'll donate 1,000, and I asked my husband if he would donate 1,000. a day later, she called me. No, he doesn't want to donate another 1,000. What I'm saying is, at that time, Chinese Americans donate money for the renovation of our library, and we did that not for us, not just for Cal, for all Chinese Americans. I think it impressed the board in Lexington, knowing that Chinese Americans do not just come in for the good schools, good library, good everything. They also give back. And that was such a great feeling that we can achieve that.
Thank you. I have another question for Larry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were talking about living the American dream.
Yes.
And actually, these days I've been looking at the younger people. I just keep thinking that I was really fortunate enough to live in the early part of the life, because the way I see the young people today, that I think it's really much tougher to go about the job market and so on. Do you observe that?
Yes and no. Yes, I think it is tougher. I mean, I always tell people I was born in the right year. So when I came of age and looking for jobs, things were easier. I had a lot of offers for jobs and so forth, and I can literally pick. Nowadays, the job market is tighter. That is true. But opportunity always exists. That's what's great about America. It's still the shiny city on the hill that most people want to come. Despite, ideological, political difference, most Chinese students still want to come to the United States for graduate study. I don't know of any who wants to go to Moscow. In fact, only small group of people at government order in the early 50s, when China very close to Russia, went to the Soviet Union, namely Moscow, for graduate study. One of my high school classmates, very smart guy, he was in that group. But otherwise, nowadays, nobody wants to go to Soviet Union or Russia to do advanced study. But everybody wants to come to the United States. And once they came, they go to their feet. So I had 30 PhD students. I supported them with my own research fund at $250,000 each. 70% after finishing decide to stay here and pay taxes for the rest of their life in the United States. On the other hand, the 30% went back to China, all had very, very good jobs right now in very authoritative positions. So people sometimes tell me, say, Larry, you should come back, work for your mother country, contribute. I said, I paid over $15 million of my own research fund to educate these people. And they're all doing well, both in America and China. I don't owe China anything now.
Wonderful.
Now, Larry, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Since when you left Hong Kong
Yeah.
for MIT, obviously at that time, there was no email, internet, and so on. So
Correct.
where and how did you actually get the information that MIT and Harvard, I believe Harvard was very famous, but MIT was relatively less.
Oh, no, MIT was very famous also. In fact, I first heard of MIT. I knew nothing about Harvard at that time. From somebody who would return from America, passing through Hong Kong, and through families, I heard him. He went to MIT, very good school, so forth. And at that time, I began to show some aptitude in math and science. So on my own, I decided to write an application of inquiry at MIT. They immediately sent me back all kinds of forms. I filled it out. To my surprise, and everybody else's surprise, I was admitted. So, and my mother had a very foresight. I was the only child. She sent me 8,000 miles away. She said, go, take your chances. And that's how I came to MIT at age 16.
Can we have their pictures?
The other related question is, in those times, as we know that Chinese were far more reserved than say, here, now say in 2020 or 2025, especially for boys. But I suppose the way you grew up during the Japanese war, that is to live in different parts of inland China, that probably prepare you mentally to be more mature than a 15 or 16-year-old boy would normally behave. And
That's
I wonder
probably
whether
true.
I wonder whether you could tell us a little bit of the 心路历程, how you actually
Yeah.
decided to 告别, to say goodbye to your parents and other relatives, and then basically you came to US on your own without any support. We know that in the 60s or 70s, even 80s, there were quite a few so-called 小留学生 from Taiwan to this country.
Yes,
But
yes.
as far as I could tell, these young junior high, middle school graduates, they usually would live with their relative, like their aunt, uncle.
Okay.
or son. In your case, you were all alone. So how did you have that kind of courage, except that you wanted to have a dream of, American education?
Okay, can I
As
speak
I
now?
wrote- Yeah, as I wrote in the announcement, you have this kind of 逐梦, you want to do this. So could you tell us a little bit of your
Yeah, can I speak
thought?
now? Are you finished?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it is true. I think I have a little bit more self-initiative than other people of my similar age at 15 and 16. Otherwise, I would not on my own apply to MIT. And also at Harvard, as I said, which was my second choice because of the quota system, I couldn't go back to MIT, and turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I initiated my own talk, own correspondence with Coleman, who was the father of the revolution. And he was very appreciative of somebody who recognized very early his work and gave him credit and so forth, and did some joint fundamental work with him. So, as I said, there's no Nobel Prize in engineering, but there's an equivalent $1 million prize called Draper Prize. When he received Draper Prize, he acknowledged me specifically because he appreciated that I understood his greatest contribution, the so-called common filter, very early, and wrote 2 papers which explains how wonderful, on one hand, the invention, and how simple it is that even high school students nowadays can understand what makes common filter so great. So Common is a very arrogant person. He often tells his professor, "You're wrong, I'm right. You're just not smart enough to know that I'm right and you're wrong." I mean, but he and I get along very well because he appreciated the fact that I understood his greatest contribution in life and did something about it.
I got a question
So,
for
it just takes also at Harvard. The only reason I got a job, Harvard had no competence, no knowledge in the control theory. But on my own, when I was finishing my PhD, I wrote a letter to several senior Harvard professors. Says, "Look, the field is really undergoing a revolution, and Harvard should be aware of this. Instead of like MIT still living in the World War II accomplishment and doing the last generation of the old-fashioned guidance and control, which nowadays not even in textbooks. But the textbook I joined also with my senior professor at Harvard is still being referenced almost every day. 40,000 other papers have referenced our textbook, which is, without blowing my own horns, has become a gold standard of the textbook. It's still being I get notified by Academic U or ResearchGate, which is 2 reference sources, almost every day. Somebody just referenced your paper. Somebody else just referenced your paper and what they did and so forth. So you do need to take a little bit initiative, which is why after Harvard usually don't hire their own graduate students as faculty. And because I took initiative to write to the senior professor, they decided to hire me as assistant professor.
Hi,
And
Larry.
stayed for 46 years.
Larry,
Yes.
question to follow up. You mentioned that the MIT in the 1950s, when you apply, they have a quota on the Chinese student. Why
Yes.
is that?
Okay. At that time, things are quite normal. Even today, there are quotas in various admission things. They're in the EE department. This is all hearsay. I don't have direct proof, written proof. Say that again. I don't have written proof that this is so, but I learned by indirect ways. In other words, at that time there was a powerful professor in the MIT EE department there said, no particular reason says there are only so many students of Chinese ethnicity from anywhere in the world can be in that department at any one time. And when I applied, I was simply exceeded quota, nothing against me. I even got a grade in the course I took with this professor gave. So it wasn't that he discriminated against me. He just simply, at that time, it's quite normal to set some quota. And but that turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Now MIT, what the Asian student probably 20 to 30% in that department. He's no longer with that department anymore.
So
Yeah, almost no longer living, correct.
So after that,
But things are really very different unless you're alive in the 50s to realize these things are happening. Now, today would be totally unacceptable, and newspaper will run big headlines and so forth. But that's early 1950s. Things are different.
so after that, did you actually manage to get the doctorate degree from Harvard?
Yes, I did, and they hired me, which is very rare, and gave me tenure eventually after 4 years. So I was, again, to some extent, my own initiative was involved. You have to make yourself known and demonstrate you deserve this recognition. So you might say, I was lucky because I came in at the start of the revolution when I managed to do all the easy problems, but fundamental problems. Nowadays, it's several generations old, I feel it's very hard to find new things to do or new worthwhile things to do. So it's always good to get in on the ground floor of any new field.
That comes my next question about what do you see about artificial intelligence in terms of in the educational learning system?
Well, AI is not quite my field, but my impression is no longer at the ground floor revolution stages. That has already passed. It's quite developed and competition is tough. If you want to do something to be noticed, you have to work hard. It's no longer an easy field, not at the beginning of the revolution. Also ask you to measure. You ask both of us.
I'm afraid I can't say anything because I'm not into it.
Yeah, but your experience how to get in lecture, I'm always introduced as
Or even for the community.
Let me finish. Okay. In lecturing, I'm always introduced as the husband of Sophia, not as a Harvard professor, because he's so well known in her accomplishment.
I didn't quite get your question, please.
What? I'm sorry. We neither of us understand what you're asking her to answer.
Oh, the question actually talking about the even for the community work, I think over the years, the way that we reach out is different, right? So do you see that artificial intelligence is going to change the way that we reach to other people? For
Oh.
example, that I see that more and more people staying home and not going out.
Yeah, well, AI is no longer a young field. Believe me, all the problems that left are either hard or very, very hard. So you have to, there's a lot of competition. It's no longer beginning field like where I was in early 1960. Okay, now.
Can I comment on that?
Hold on, please. Let her answer. Let Sophia answer. How did you get to volunteer, well-known, so forth? And
I guess I do feel we've been very lucky all our lives before getting married, after moving to Lexington. And then I feel sorry for those who did not have our chance and opportunities. So I want to help them. As I said, helping people's the foundation for happiness. And I do feel if I can help you, I'm happy. I'm not stingy with my the ability or intelligence, everything I own, I'd like to share. I feel sorry for people. I make things for people. They don't have mittens. They don't have warm socks. And I just want to give it to them.
什么或者讲什么哈佛啊，怎么讲？现在 AI 都是教授之类的啊。
Can I have a question for
Yeah.
You've been in the States for 75 years. You've gone through the many changes of the world.
yes,
And at this point, what would be your advices to the young people right now?
okay. Whatever you do, you should be genuinely interested in doing. It makes you happy to do it. If you're doing it because you think this may help my career, this may make me famous, people will see through that very, very easily, and you won't get very far. That's my personal opinion. Whatever you do, you are genuinely interested in doing this. You're not doing it because it helps your career. It may make more money for you. Except when making more money is your greatest desire. I don't have experience of that. So
Larry, we barely see you.
let me finish, please. So whatever you do, you should do it because you really want to do it. It makes you happy to do it, not because it will give you better, make you famous, more money, or helps your career. That's my own personal advice.
Larry, I said that we can barely see you because your face is out of the screen now.
Okay, yeah, but we are crowded around this really small computer and camera, so I'll try to stay close to Sophia.
Just close to Sophia. Get you as close to Sophia as you can.
Yeah,
Just like dancing. Just like dancing.
Yeah, that's
Another
good.
question for Larry.
Yeah.
So what would be your advices for people who how to prepare for retirement?
That's a strange question.
Yeah, retirement requires preparation. I think anything, this saying in English called luck favors the prepared. I fully believe that. Yes, we depend on luck, but you should always try to prepare. And sometimes, Sophia always tells me, you worry too much. Even though right now we have nothing stressful, I still worry about this, worry about that. But when you worry, you do get, you make plans, and that's always good.
So you can still apply the 3 Ps.
What?
You can still apply the 3 Ps, the preparation.
3P, yes, yeah,
the
that's for giving
partners.
talk. But I think preparation never fails. Very few people are natural born speakers or natural born bosses, so forth. I mean, actually, though, I'm not. So everything I do, I have preparation.
You know,
yeah.
as far as I knew, that you both couple have enjoyed each other and enjoyed the retirement so much. What's the secret?
Oh, just I would say pick the right wife, marry the right girl, and love each other. That's the best.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I found your talk both extremely impressive, but one of the other impressive things that I find is that you're both so energetic and vibrant. Can you give us, the rest of us, some advice as to, on the matters of health, what is most important, do you think?
I'd like to answer that. First of all, I'd like to explain why I look so dumb and looking at Larry all the time, because I don't hear very well. My hearing aid doesn't work with this from the speaker. Well, our speaker is not very good. So I don't understand the questions. Once I understand, I'm still here. So, and of course, we're slowing down. Actually, we're slowing down. But my philosophy is don't worry, which he cannot do. You worry, it's not going to help. If something bad's going to happen, don't worry. Do something if you can. If you just worry, it won't help. So you're cheerful. Be cheerful.
Okay, let me add one more thing. If you're thinking about retirement, you should also remember the 3 P's. Preparation, preparation, preparation. If you, of course, one preparation is to have enough money so you can live on without working. That's obvious, but that's not enough. Retirement, you may think, oh, I have no more obligation. I can do whatever I want during the day, whatever I please. Wrong. You have to prepare for retirement. Find something you can do in the longer term that makes you happy and makes you feel worthwhile. Otherwise, you'll get very bored after 3 months and you don't know what to do, and you make everybody else miserable. So prepare. Now, in my case, I happened to start before I retired, to start write a blog by accident. And I find a lot of people reading it. Now, after some 18 years, people in 70 different countries, over 10 million people have read my blog. And they don't always agree with my blog. And they will even somebody tell me this is a bad idea, or don't agree with me on some political things. But the point is not that they agree or disagree with me. I know somebody is reading it, my blog, and has some opinions on it. That may give you incentive to write more. So I found in retirement, I have something truly love. I only write once a week, but it gives you pleasure to write, to read the reaction of people, whether good or bad, so forth. So I would say for retirement, one preparation is what you prepare to do. Do something you really enjoy doing. You maybe by accident you discover something, or you always want to do something but don't have time. Now is the time to really do something you enjoy doing. So long they are not criminal or so forth. And as I said, the other preparations to prepare the finance so that you can live for as long as you're alive without worry. Yeah. The worst thing is to worry about your finance, that you may outlive your savings and you're too old to get reemployed. That's the worst kind of things.
Larry and Sophia gave us a talk on this type of subject a long time ago. So I hope we have opportunity to hear his talk again in the future.
One question, please.
Oh, okay.
There are two hands.
One more last addition.
Yeah.
Many of you know I write this blog, which is on the Chinese Academy of Science platform. It's very easy to locate. Just Google Larry Ho or Yu-Chi Ho blog, and you will get a link. I've been writing this blog since 2007. Now there's over 1,000 articles, basically about what we're talking about, our lives in the United States, what I feel, so forth. And you're welcome to browse that. I usually call that in Chinese term, not very artful, called 射手文学. Each article is about 10 minutes long. You read it during your morning constitutional. That's all.
非常谢谢主持人、主持单位能够邀请到我们非常崇仰的何玉琪教授跟太太两位这两位都是我们一向非常崇拜的前辈，那么也被我很多次写到这个哈佛系列的作品里，而且呢，我也在我从事义务工作，也是学习着你们前辈如何去服务美国社会。那么像这个在这种美国华裔如何贡献美国社会的会议大会、国际大会里面呢，也都有提到你们。那么我很想要知道的，我当然写到你们很多方面。那么今天又知道你们后来又有好多，一直到最近几年都有这么多的贡献，实在是非常佩服。但是呢，我非常关切的，尤其是疫情这几年，有关这个你们跟吴宣彪跟陈香梅共同创立的这个 AD20， 现在有没有新的发展？
我现在已经从 AD20 没什么太大关系，从前这个很在这里热烈帮忙。吴宣彪现在大概1个月，他还写一篇文章关于这个Chinese American politics. But that's all. He is also getting old and nearing 90. So I think without any new successor, I think it's going to just die, fade away, unfortunately.
非常感谢，非常感谢。
好，谢谢你们的邀请，我们非常荣幸能够给这个 talk。
还有那个 Tim 举手很久了，他不知道他还在。
好，可以，谢谢那个 Sophia 跟 Larry 跟我分享，尤其是 Sophia， 她在 Tang 的所有的贡献，真是令我I was surprised， 因为在中国人圈子里面，很少会在 community 做这么多工作。我现在是在 community 做，但一起来跟他差太远。那个他也讲得对了，当你要开始做这个东西的话呢，总是有很多人找你的，看你实践怎么样，对不对？所以呢，我就是有几个 comment。第一个 comment 就是呢，很可惜就是中国人方面对于 Tang 的 politics、Tang 的 meeting 没有什么兴趣。我每年去参加我们这个 Lincoln 的 Town Meeting， 其实是蛮重要的，因为对你的 tax rate， 对你 school system， 所以你 selectmen 的 vote 很多东西都要知道嘛。但是我通常很少看到华人Asian 去参加 Town Meeting， 这个真是很可惜了。另外那个就是所以我真是很期望。下一代可能我们这一代还有些中国大陆来，可能不太喜欢参加政治方面的。下一代能够对于所附近的 community 有更多的关系，尤其是他们对 education 方面注意的话呢，他们真的是要 pay attention。Who are they going to vote in the school committee？ 这个是 at least step one。我是有个问题就是。在中国人方面，很多 group。当我跟朋友讲这个云和社的时候，那个中国朋友第一句跟他讲，那个是台湾 group 吧。所以我觉得我们这个是一个问题，就是在 Lexington 好像有个中国大陆的 group， 很多不同的 group。结果呢，就是对于我们来讲 ，it's a weak point。你看 NAACP 多 powerful。我们太散了，我不知道 Larry 跟 Sophie 有什么建议，能够联起起来，不要看中国方面的经济，就看关心美国的 community， 美国的 group， 来参与对于我们华人方面的那方面，能够为我们争取这方面的利益。不是由 Larry 跟Sophie 怎么样能够united 这些 group， 太多 group。
我是相当同情你的说法，这因为我在中国，我至少长大了16年，对，而且我家庭是很老实的家庭，所以我是中国的认识梦里四书我都念过，课外特别以家庭教师念的，所以我对中国 culture 稍微有点了解。中国的 culture 有许多地方跟美国是180度相反的，所以在中国，第一，从小就教你，搞政治是最危险的事情，而且你去搞政治一定心里有别的暗谋，不是真正为了要替人们服务。其实替公众服务是，刚才Sophie讲是最快乐的一种事情。他愿意做的，并不希望有什么报酬什么，但是无意之中会得到很多想不到的报酬。中国的 culture 就想，你去搞政治一定有什么心意，不是好意，所以就觉得不应当做这种事情。所以有许多中国 culture 使得我们人不去参加这种 public service，这是我的个人感觉。你有什么话？
我觉得他讲的就是，当文杰说他要举我去得奖的事情，我头一个反应就是不行，我哪里配呢？我不好，因为中国人要谦虚嘛。但是在美国，你谦虚，人家真的以为你是笨蛋，真的以为你是那样子的话。我记得 Larry 讲过，他对他的中国新来的学生讲，假如你的老师问你，你会不会什么什么什么什么，你应该怎么回答？你不记得？For instance， 中国人是谦虚，你中国学生到美国教授，OK， 你学过这个没有？你懂不懂这个？中国人就说，哎呀，懂一点点。其实你懂，但是中国人不信，就想，我是非常清楚这个方面的。所以 Larry 头一次就是怕他的学生太谦虚了。他说，你假如人家问你问题，你懂的话呢，你就讲你懂，你不要客气。你要客气，人家真为你不懂。而且 Larry 讲了一句话，我记得很清楚。他说 Harvard 能够收你，你一定有你的本事，就是你不懂，你6个月之内你一定学得会。他给小孩子信心，不是说要谦虚，不懂这个不懂那个。6个月你可以学会，所以你不要太谦虚，太谦虚人家就觉得你是笨蛋。
我刚才讲过一点，就是说我能够在哈佛待了46年，得到 tenure， 都是有一点自告奋勇。本来他们哈佛根本没有一点能力在这个 control theory 方面。我自告奋勇告诉这几个比较年高望重的老师，写了封信给他们说，现在我们这个 field 正在大改变，某某人是做得很好，现在呢，你哈佛应当注意这一点，不然我绝对不会在哈佛待下去。哈佛很少收自己学生的，就是要收自己学生，也要先叫他出去做4、5年，再回来，在外面学点东西，再回来才可以收你做。我这一毕业直接是进了就做 faculty， 一待46年，这一半就是我自告奋勇告诉他们这个一系在转变什么，我不可能在哈佛待下去的，他们根本没想到。
这对人讲话看起来是永远不
咁樣把這個在美國這麼多 Chinese group united 呢 how can is it even possible? Is it possible to unite all this group?
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand the question.
Well, there is a lot of organization in the U.S., Chinese organization.
Yes.
Chinese Association Lexington, Organization of Chinese American, 台湾同乡会，台湾什么会
Well, I think
stuff like that，好多好多好多。
yes. First of all, I think the Chinese culture, as I said earlier, says politics is bad. If you get interested in politics, either you have some ulterior motive or it's going to be dangerous for you. So don't get involved. That's, anyway, I've been taught with young. But in America, you have to change. And for years, I think 80-20 is the only organization that says Chinese Americans should recognize the political nature of America and how do you get involved. And in fact, along the way, do something for your own race. But unfortunately, I don't see anybody following this view. And he's getting, well, I think he's 85 or 86 now. So older. But he's younger than me, I know that. Maybe 5 years younger, so give him 87 or 88.
Oh, getting old.
Actually, that I think you can involve on the more on the
There are too many people speaking. I cannot hear.
4秒。
Very bad echo, very bad echo.
Yeah, I can't hear anything.
Sorry, that's all.
Tanya, why don't you pick people one at a time for them to speak? If everybody speaks together at once.
No, it's all for. OK， 现在好了。我是说那个you could actually actively involved from the town with. I don't know if you have a Chinese association. Either you do or you don't. You can involve the town committee. That's the way to get into their attention.
Yeah, volunteers for service. Any town is always looking for people who are genuinely interested in giving. Search.
I already involved in, but in a small scale.
Right. Start small.
Everything you have to start small.
Yeah. 我跟你讲一个那个，就像那个Sophia 一样嘛。We are immigrant. We're not born here. 但是呢 I involved in taking minutes for 2 committee. English not even my first language. 因为大家不愿意做，所以 yeah. What the matter is time. How much time and commitment you want to do? Once you started it, people will find you. People ask me, do you want to help this, help that? We have to balance how much time you can afford to do all this stuff. Volunteering, joining committee never end. You have to find out what's your interest, what's your ability, and how much time commitment you're willing to do. I think that's the bottom line. I'm sad that there's most people, Asian, especially Chinese, don't involve at all. Zero. Even though they're retired. With the community.
We were taught not to get involved, number one. Second, I think again, the Chinese culture. What's your first question often is, what's in it for
一开始我也
me?
听不到声音，所以我就用你的，我就听到声音了。
那你老师讲
啊？
你老师
下个月
Can I speak?
上个月你可以用我的，
现在我又听不到声音了。
你这样也做不好。
你现在用完我再用，不过他也讲完了。
Well, no, I'm saying that one of the, at least the way I understand, one of the Chinese cultural characteristics is you often ask the question, what's in it for me? If you volunteer for service, do anything. And that is the attitude we have to change. Because if you keep on asking this question, people will get, not only that you won't be interested in doing anything, because there's nothing even on the surface for you. And people will see through it, and you will get a bad reputation. So do what you really enjoy doing. Or, trust Sophia, volunteer for public service often has unimagined benefit and pleasure, genuine pleasure, not because it's good for your career, you will make more money and so forth. Not any of those specific motives. You genuinely enjoy interact with people and do things for them. and never ask the question, what is in it for me? What's in it for you will come in ways you never expect and very rewarding.
May I add something?
Yeah, please.
I think if you volunteer, take it seriously. You can't say, oh, that's my sideline. I can't do it today. Well, don't promise anything unless you mean it. You do it. Take it seriously. I find people say, oh, you don't work. I tell the truth. I work very hard because I take it seriously. When you have a good result, people come and calling on you. They need you. They want you. So I think maybe you think paying money job is serious. That comes first. Yes, but this is free. I do it or I don't do it. Wrong. If you don't want to follow through, do not join. I think that's my experience.
If I may add a little bit, professionally, I do a lot of volunteer service for my profession, not my job at Harvard or not my obligation, but I enjoy doing it for the same reason, because I genuinely enjoy to serve my profession, to help people who are less fortunate or just beginning, give them good advice, so forth. You get paid back in so many unexpected ways. But if you start, says, I'll do volunteer because I expect it will help my career, so forth, that won't work, at least in my opinion. Okay. You have to be genuinely interested in something and then go do it seriously.
I totally agree, because in the past I volunteer for the industries. I see there are people just sign up for every committee and so on, etc. In the meeting time, you don't see them at all. You just look good on their resume. It's just for own benefit.
Exactly.
It just drive you crazy. There are people like that. Not all of that, a small portion, a small proportion people like that.
Yes, there definitely are. But they very quickly get found out. People avoid them quickly.
Yes, that's correct.
They may get away with it.
People see fruit very quickly. After 1 or 2 years, they see it. How come he doesn't volunteer for anything? He just have a title, want to be a board member, committee member, this, but really never contribute or done anything. So people see through that, no doubt. Thank you. Thank you, Larry, and thank you. Very inspiring, especially Sophia. That is, I live next town. I didn't even know you exist. This is
yes. I married the right woman.
Yeah, wonderful
I think
talk.
based on their leadership, Wayland actually followed that sentence. Wayland Chinese Association is actively engaged the town of Wayland. They have really good attention to all the town departments. They become one of the organizers of Wayland 250 celebrations. So we follow you guys. Thank you.
I have said publicly in the past, one of the best decisions I've made in my life is to marry Sophia.
Oh, yeah.
Well, at least one benefit that I think that probably other people didn't see is the way that I see Larry and Sophia making the presentation there. I mean, definitely you don't have Alzheimer's. And I'm just worrying about that when I get old, I really have to practice more and get involved more, right? So that I can...
Also, do brain exercise. We do physical exercise to keep up physical strength. You should do brain exercise, which I've done for 20 years now, to keep up, to avoid that kind of dementia and so forth.
Right. Go out of comfort zone, right?
Yes. That's right. I mean, certain things you cannot avoid. Physical and mental decline happens, but you try to slow it down and be able to maintain. For example, in the brain exercise thing I do, they keep score about your performance of your brain. And in the 18 years, I've declined about 8% in my brain, various aspects of brain power. And that's not socially noticeable. I can interact with people, people will notice it. And that's reassuring and make life more enjoyable.
Right, right.
If you start to have really recognizable brain decline, cognitive decline, that's very sad, really.
Yes, yes, yes. Wonderful talk. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for asking.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
Giving
you,
me
Larry,
this time.
and thank you, Sophia. Really wonderful to hear from the two of you.
Thank you for asking us.
Yeah.
We're honored.
And I hope once the YouTube recording is over, more people, particularly our younger generation who may not be as fluent in Chinese, can watch it and be prepared.
Right. Okay. I have one more announcement. Next month, I'm working on an old friend of mine, my junior school classmate. She has been working in the physical therapy all her life. So she is going to talk about her patients and how to, I think we are worrying about these days of falling. So how to prevent falling or how to look at the symptom,
Absolutely,
and what to do.
absolutely.
and so
Falling
on.
is very dangerous at our
Yes,
age.
so looking forward to June talk.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
你怎么不可能看全部的人？没有。
Yeah, because 可是可以看的。
那个，那是正确。
Yeah, 对不对？
呀，我们就看着这几个，这个人走啊，那个漂亮啊。我走了，我要喝水去了啊。
Yeah.
What's on the